Hi there, Kirby fan here, and welcome to a bombastic new copy ability spotlight. I hope you enjoy, and if you do, hey, you can always let me know by leaving a like on the video. You can also subscribe and ring the notification bell to be, notified whenever I upload a new video. We just passed 2,500 subscribers, which is a baby number by YouTube standards, but a huge milestone for me, and I can't thank you all enough. Of course, the most important part of these spotlights is voting for the ability that I cover next, so let me know in the comments of this video what ability you want to see next. Voting ends on March 17th, 2022, so if you're watching after Forgotten Land comes out, or you just really like Bomb, tell me about Bomb in the comments. Do you love it? Hate it? Have a strong opinion that you've argued about for over 10 years on which Bomb hat is the best hat? Let me know in the comments. With that said, video time. Most of the series' mainstay abilities debuted in Kirby's Adventure, but a few of them popped up in Kirby Superstar too. Fighter is a classic, Spark was replaced with Plasma, and who could forget the timeless classic, that is Paint. But of the KSS originals, my favorite has always been Bomb. I don't know, I just think it's really fun to throw bombs around and see enemies explode. Or you drop a bomb on their head and you watch them panic in their final moments before death. Why am I like this, and why is it because of Kirby? As fun of an ability as Bomb is to use, the question we seek to answer in all of these videos must be asked. Does Bomb hold up with optimized speedrunning Kirby? Does it explode upon arrival, or is it a dud? That was actually really easy to come up with. I normally spend at least like 5 minutes on the keyboard coming up with puns for these. Anyway, Kirby fan trivia aside, is Bomb good? Let's find out. If this is your first spotlight, hi, glad you're here, but also, we start by quickly going over the games an ability isn't very good in, or there's not much to say, before going deeper into the more interesting stuff. Bomb, being in so many games, isn't free of this, and so we start with Kirby Air Ride. This is a bit of a sad case because, in theory, yes, Bomb could be very useful. It's a single-use move, but after being thrown, the explosion lasts for a long time, becoming huge, and it can deal a good chunk of damage to enemies. The problem is that you really don't need any of this. Abilities like Sword and Needle are far better because they require literally no setup after being inhaled and practically destroy everything in sight, while stars like the Wheelie Scooter go stupidly fast on their own. In fact, for Air Ride all tracks, you only use the Wheelie Scooter and the Rocket Star, and trust me, the Rocket Star really appreciates abilities like Sword and Needle more than Bomb. Heck, I know I said in previous spotlights that Tornado and Fire weren't that great, but they're better off too. They don't require any startup and kill enemies instantly, meaning you don't have to plan around it. Look, in this run here on Magma Flows, in Time Attack mind you, where enemy placements never change, Bomb is inhaled twice. How many enemies does it kill? When? How much speed is gained from that? Less than you get from literally any other ability. And in any percent or 100 checklist boxes, the CPU uses it, and hey, you know what? It actually helps. I'm not gonna count this since you're not the one using it, but for a city trial, it's... Wait, Bomb is used again to make you go faster here? Look, going by the numbers, the Warp Star goes about 27 miles per hour, but getting hit by Bomb puts you in the air, and in the air, the Warp Star goes about 32. You know, if this actually mattered, Bomb would have the funniest niche in a Kirby game ever, but as it is, it's more of the same from Air Ride. Bizarre speed increase included. Things don't get much better in Amazing Mirror and Squeak Squad. There's more to talk about with Amazing Mirror, so we'll brush over Squeak Squad real quick. So abilities in Squeak Squad, are they all good? I guess a lot of them could have a niche, but are they wheel? No. Is it very good then? No. Nice. I'm getting pretty good at this. For Amazing Mirror, while Wheel is still very strong, other abilities still see some use, but Bomb isn't really one of them. It's simply too slow and doesn't deal enough damage, with the trade-off being that it's very safe. When I hosted a newcomers race for Amazing Mirror a while back, I had suggested Bomb as a solid option considering this, but I don't think it was used very much even in there. It isn't solid as a backup shot for Mega Titan either, because in that regard it is entirely outclassed by Cutter. We'll get into the original Superstar later on, but for now, we need to talk about Bomb in Superstar Ultra. This game is one of the most difficult to do proper research for, since legitimate resources are really hard to come by. The speedrunning footage that I can show, while it is the best that Bomb has to offer, I can't really compare it much to other abilities beyond word of mouth from higher up players. The best thing I can really say about Bomb is something that I haven't seen outside of a task yet, which involves the Wing Zip glitch. See, if you cancel this diving attack with Wing while tanking a high knockback hit and you stay in the air for long enough, Kirby will soar upwards and even pass through walls. If any of you are surprised that Wing is so fast that it can move through walls at this point, then you really need a schooling on copy abilities. Which, you know, I have a playlist for, you know, just a saying. Anyway, this bypasses an entire auto-scroller, making up for any lost time through setup and mixing, but because of how difficult it is, I've only seen it in tasks. If we can ever see this in a run with a consistent setup, I don't know if it would make Bomb good, but if we could find applications for it elsewhere, then yeah, I think it would give Bomb one of the funniest niches in any Kirby speed game ever. Kinda like in Air Ride. Can Bomb please be the speedrunning meme ability? I know it's only happened twice, technically 3 times, but still. Fast forwarding a bit, Bomb still isn't that great in Triple Deluxe, which is a shame because Bomb is not that bad in Return to Dreamland, as we'll see later. So what happened? Well, abilities in Triple Deluxe excel when they're fast, as in really fast. Fast enough to where Bomb can't keep up. The best attacks it has in Return to Dreamland were nerfed, and while Triple Deluxe does have a mechanic where if you use an attack, get rid of an ability, and get it right back before the attack lands, it hits twice. Is that a mechanic or a bug? I actually don't know. Anyway, that's cool and all, but Bomb's damage, still, even with that in mind, it's not good enough, quickly enough. And do I really have to mention that it has next to no use for the main game? I guess there's Kirby Fighters, but we'll talk about Fighters Deluxe soon enough. Speaking of a Kirby fighting game, kinda sorta, it feels weird putting Bomb in Kirby Battle Royale up here, considering that it isn't really that bad. The problems with abilities in Battle Royale is that, with only 2 or 3 exceptions, they're all of a similar level of good. It's not super good or super bad, just all around solid. For speedrunning, you can use Bomb if you feel like, Sword and Whip to find the run, but if you use Bomb instead of Sword, like, whatever, cool. Maybe not use Bomb over Whip, but Sword? Why not? For a multiplayer, if multiplayer ever got a more developed meta, I may be singing a different tune here, but considering I am not even singing at all tells you everything that you need to know. Lastly, for the appearances where Bomb didn't really impress, we have Kirby Fighters 2. This is a weird one, not only since we have not talked about Kirby Fighters Deluxe yet, but historically, Bomb has seen legitimate tournament results. I'll delve more into why it's a bit iffy for tournaments when I talk about Fighters Deluxe later on, but for speedrunning, it's just kind of okay. Never sees use for the story mode considering how many better options there are, and for the single-handed mode, it just struggles to keep competitive times against some of the more insane abilities. It feels like I'm kind of brushing over Kirby Fighters 2, and I kind of am, but the real meat of the video is starting soon, so let's get right into that. Speaking of, we're done with the lackluster appearances. I wouldn't call Bomb bad in most of these, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, it's legit bad in some of them, even in some of the more important games, like Triple Deluxe, but its main issue is that it doesn't have enough firepower. It needs to be stronger, and so it shall be. How strong, you may ask? Well, the answer varies hard, depending on the game, so let's take a look. I know I mentioned this before, but when was the last time I covered an ability that was in a lot of games, but didn't debut in Kirby's Adventure. That feels good every once in a while. Well, if we were to compare the two games, if Kirby's Adventure is dominated by Tornado, then Superstar is dominated by, to put it simply, complete jank. While it's easy to assume that Jet is the best ability, and I mean it is, a lot of abilities are broken in this game, which can give them a niche in their own right. Even if Jet is the best, if you evaluate, say, Yo-Yo or Cutter, they're still good in there. It's useless to evaluate Bomb for a movement, as it doesn't offer anything in terms of making Kirby faster. You won't see it in any percent, for example, since you want to run through levels as fast as you can. Something like Jet, of course, but also Wheelie, Rider, or Wing would serve you a lot better. That being said, Bomb technically has micro usage, and 100%. Hey, I'm here to provide the facts, and the facts are you pick up Bomb in Milky Way Wishes, a mode where you have to get every ability when going for 100%, and when you kill the mini-boss after you get Bomb, it's faster to slap a bomb on their head than to kill them with anything else. And that's it. Wow, fast spotlight. Good for Bomb. I'll see you around, everybody. Remember to subscribe and all that good stuff. What this all means, in simple terms, is that it's an ability that goes all in on the offense. Bomb lives and dies by being a boss killer. And, spoilers, it lives by that mantra for most of the franchise, at least at the time of this recording. If we look at Bomb's kit in Superstar, all of the pieces fit together. By pressing Y, Kirby pulls out a bomb, and by pressing Y again, Kirby throws it. These moves are named Hold a Bomb and Throw a Bomb, and I only bring this up because Kirby Superstar has unparalleled creativity when it comes to its attack names. Other than that, there's not much else to Bomb's kit. If you dash before attacking, Kirby will throw the bomb in a straight line. If you press Y near an enemy, Kirby will plant the bomb on their head. If you press down and Y, Kirby will plant a bomb right in front of him. And that's it. Very straightforward, but are there any attacks that are actually useful for taking down bosses? Task footage exists of Set a Bomb, the down and Y attack, being used to what I can only describe as wow. Of course, we're only looking at what's doable by a person, not a machine, but this is still a good start for what we're looking for from Bomb. And besides, compared to something like Plasma, this doesn't seem that bad. And, sure enough, a good portion of Bomb's viability against the bosses comes from Set a Bomb. But the standard Throw a Bomb is useful as well. It's also far easier to explain. Can you throw a bomb? If no, then don't use it. If you can, and Set a Bomb isn't a better option, then throw it. You think button mashing won't get you anywhere? Well, Throw a Bomb intensifies! What's far more interesting is how Set a Bomb is used, so let's talk about this. I mean, on the outset, there's not much to say. You just plant bombs in front of a boss, and wow, fast spotlight. Don't forget to subscribe. What makes this a better option than Throw a Bomb is the speed. As you can clearly see, these bombs come out really fast, and it doesn't take very long for another one to come out, even without tasks. Hi, everyone. This is post-editing Kirby fan here. The non-tasks in air quotes footage that I'm using is actually from a channel that literally has tasks in the name. I didn't notice this until I went to grab the source, because of all the channels, I forgot to grab it for this one. And sure enough, there was tasks right in the name. So this is a task. It seems much more doable than the other one. There's nothing in here that really seems all that hard, so I am counting this as a run that's not tasks, but technically it is. Anyways, back into the action. The issue here is that not every enemy can be hurt on the ground, so when using Bomb against bosses, you need to base your strategy on whether or not a boss will be in the air or on the ground. This makes Bomb unlike a lot of abilities in Kirby Superstar. You look at Plasma, Stone, or Hammer strats, for example, and those are much different. Plasma is about fast and strong attacks, Stone is all about hitting the right sweet spot as much as you can, and Hammer is about landing one strong hit that deals huge damage. Basically, find the best spot for Kirby to be in and go wild. You still go wild with Bomb, but it's much more about the position of the bosses rather than Kirby himself, and I think that's really cool. But we talked about Ultra earlier, and it wasn't very good there. And the strats are pretty similar overall, so what gives? Silly you, I already told you. Sorta, kinda. Kirby Superstar is a broken game, while Superstar Ultra is technically better put together. In this case, for Superstar Ultra, there's an actual cooldown period for when you can take out a bomb. In the original, once that sucker's out, you can pull out another one. It is a never-ending bomb bonanza. Now, this doesn't make Bomb an exceptional ability in KSS or anything. Plasma by itself has the potential to clear the arena in under 3 minutes, which is kind of insane when you really think about it, while other abilities like Stone, Hammer, and Tack, the helper for copy, aren't horribly far off. The Bomb task and the not task run are about a minute apart, so if we average them out, the reasonable time to expect from Bomb only would be something like 350. For a run that isn't from one of the dominant boss killer abilities, the time isn't bad, but not amazing. Good, not great, you get the drill. Despite that, it's certainly one of the more interesting abilities, and worth using for someone looking to quickly kill bosses in KSS, with an ability you don't hear about very often. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, there isn't as much to say for Bomb in Kirby 64. In the first draft of this video, I actually had it grouped in with the less than stellar bombs, but it's just good enough in some very specific places that I think it warrants being good enough. The name of the game, metaphorically, for Kirby 64 is ability combining. You can have Bomb standalone, or you can combine it with another ability, itself included, to get an upgrade. That said, the 100% run of this game doesn't make Bomb look all that great. You need it, of course, but using it because you have to get a shard is less impressive and more mandatory, which isn't a good look. Then you see combos like Ice and Bomb against the bosses, and oh no, this is painful. Oh god, that hurts to watch. But hey, it doesn't matter if all but one of them are awful, so long as the one that is really good is really good. That's all that matters, yeah? That's true, and 2 Bomb combos stand out as actually being solid. Unfortunately, no, Bomb plus Cutter isn't one of them. I know we all love exploding shurikens, but it doesn't offer all that much that better combinations don't offer already. All of that makes the fact that Bomb plus Kirby is one of the best Bomb combos really funny. When I say Bomb plus Kirby, I of course mean Bomb standalone. I just like saying it like that because of the other Dreamland games. Anyway, this is a moderately strong, highly spammable attack that works really well for hitting enemies below and in front of Kirby. The angle just works really well for that. While you don't see this too often in either any percent or hundo, in both categories it works amazingly well as an acro killer. Acro is the boss of World 3, Aquastar, and takes place underwater. If you've played, seen, or listened to someone who's played a video game before, you know the deal with underwater levels, so having to do an entire boss fight underwater, quickly, and efficiently, sounds tough. Until you remember that being underwater allows you to float to the top of the screen. Dropping bombs on Acro this way suddenly makes this fight a complete joke, even casually, and that's including Phase 2, where the layout changes. There are even enemies here that give you Bomb in case you lose it. Overall, it's not much, but making an underwater boss fight easier than the Wispy Woods fight is no small feat. Not bad, especially for a solo ability. Of course, this is Kirby 64, so I need to bring mention to a solid Bomb combo, potentially even better than Bomb plus Kirby, that one being, no surprise, Bomb plus Fire. If you remember that movie that I had to make about fire when it was covered for that spotlight, you'll remember that Fire is far and away the best ability in the game, and it gives some of that absurdity to Bomb. Fire plus Bomb nets you the Fireworks ability, making Kirby jump up to 3 times with explosions going off around Kirby with every jump. You've got better options for boss killing, but if you have to use it, it isn't bad. That said, where this ability really excels is at killing regular enemies. Yeah, you never really think about combat against normal enemies since they're so weak, but Kirby 64 gets cheeky every once in a while and locks you in a room with a bunch of enemies, especially in the final level of Ripple Star World 6. Typically, this is where I'd say something along the lines of, that's cool and all, but you want to stick with something that helps you move quicker, like Fire plus Fire, or Fire plus Kirby, or, okay, that's basically it. I told you Fire was stupid good, but still. Fortunately for Bomb plus Fire, given that the level it's really good in is the final level of the game, you don't really have to worry about movement. You're a lot more concerned with just killing the enemies as quickly as you can. There are other abilities that get the job done as well, especially in Hundo where you actually need a certain ability combo to get all the crystal shards, but still, this footage speaks for itself. It's small applications like these that make looking at abilities so much fun. Sure, Bomb isn't amazing in Kirby 64, but dealing with an underwater boss fight without an ability that makes a joke of it, actually having to concentrate instead of pressing one button in a room late into a run that's still faster than any alternative, those are legitimately useful niches and helps make Kirby 64 more enjoyable to run. As we know, Bomb had its fun on some handhelds, but when it came time for Kirby to return to consoles, Bomb came back strong. Yes. Again, look at Wing, look at Bomb, but at least in a Hundo run, you're forced to use Bomb to clear the challenge stage. I would hardly say this makes it efficient, but you can see some cool Bomb strats that are faster than simply floating forward. You know me, I love random cool tech that's technically faster than normal Kirby. I am all for this. Where Bomb faces better, and tell me if you've heard this one before, is against the bosses in the arena modes. Similar to Superstar, it isn't a top-tier meta-defining threat. Yes, I play fighting games, how can you tell? But it's an all-around solid ability. It struggles against a couple of bosses, but to make up for that, it's genuinely excellent against most of the others. Return to Dreamland boss killing mostly comes down to abusing one or two absurdly powerful moves, and hey, lucky for Bomb, it has one or two absurdly powerful moves. In particular, one move was heavily buffed, but also technically replaced, which is really confusing because they're practically the same thing, but it had a name change, so it was replaced, or wait, was it renamed, or was it retold? Bomb bowling functions just like straight throw in how, if you dash and attack, Kirby will throw a bomb straight ahead. Comparing the two, bomb bowling does actually begin to fall to the ground after a little bit, meaning you actually have to time and space your bomb throws. Oh, boo-hoo. To make up for that, you no longer have to have a bomb out in order to use the move, and... Oh, okay. Yeah, now saying it like that, it's pretty obvious how this slaughters bosses now. Yup. Yeah, okay. Bomb bowling isn't technically all you do. I was pleasantly surprised to see Bomb set the down plus attack, for those who don't remember that far back, being used in some fights to hit bosses of different heights. But the core of what makes Bomb really, really good is bomb bowling. Now, as I said, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. That's on one of Water's moves, and I did a spotlight for that ability already. The Sphere Doomers start good, but Bomb lacks a quick kill on the second phase, and technically the third one is a little bit slow too. Magolor's Soul is also an uphill battle, and while the second half of that fight isn't so bad, it just kinda barely gets by in phase 1. But it still gets by, which is more than you can say for a lot of abilities. And while, okay, Bomb's not the best in those two, it's still not that bad. And for almost every other boss fight, let me put this in perspective. There are abilities that are genuinely really, really good, like Cutter, Wing, and Fire. I know, for anyone who's seen that spotlight, you just know. And those are slower than Bomb. There are even abilities like Fighter, Meta Knight, and Ice, those are in the top 5 overall by the way, that have fights that are slower than what Bomb can pull out, which is actually crazy to me. It fits into the exact same group as Parasol did. Overall, it's pretty amazing, but a small handful of fights hold it back from true excellence. All that being said, and I know Zelda did it first though, how does one make bowling with a bomb not absurdly dangerous? I can't imagine playing Switch Sports, getting ready to bowl, and then just blowing up the entire alley. The game isn't that buggy, okay? Anyways, remember way back when I said we would get to Fighters Deluxe soon enough? Technically, I wasn't wrong. I mean, you'd figure soon would be before Kirby Fighters 2, but if you follow me long enough, you know that both me and my videos are a total mess. Anyway, Bomb, like most abilities, is in a weird spot in Fighters Deluxe, since the meta of Kirby Fighters was never really taken seriously until the sequel game. All we have for Deluxe is speculation and the community tier list, which, yeah, you can't really take too seriously, but if we look at Fighters Deluxe as more of a time capsule than a competitive game, Bomb did okay. It's about middle of the pack, much better than what's below it, but definitely not as good as what's above it. The consensus was that Bomb suffered against zoning abilities, but did pretty well against close combat ones. Parasol was unanimously considered the best during this era, and Bomb was considered to have a cleanly winning matchup against it, so if nothing else, it did have that going for it. To dive into what Bomb can do a bit more, with Kirby Fighters 2 footage playing in the background, because how the heck am I supposed to find tournament footage of Fighters Deluxe? It throws bombs, and it sure does plant them too. And that's it. There are a decent amount of abilities that suffer from not having a lot of moves, and while Bomb is one of them, it at least forms a really solid game plan around the tools that it does have. Zone, 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 zone. Throw bombs to control space, plant bombs to stop your opponent from getting too close, and you hopefully win. It's all a lot more technical than it sounds, which is unfortunate, considering it doesn't have a great matchup spread. For those who don't know much on fighting games or matchup spreads, allow me to explain. A matchup chart details how any character or copy ability in this game does against each other. So, using Bomb as an example, its matchup chart goes something along the lines of amazing versus abilities that want to be in your face, not good versus abilities that have long reach and deal with bombs, and okay against the rest. And that's a big generalization, of course, but considering there aren't a lot of abilities that are pure rushdown, especially in Fighters Deluxe, it means Bomb doesn't excel against very many. But again, people thought Parasol was broken, so it did have that going for it. Can we please go back to those times? I really miss those times. Also, Bomb could do that. As for speedrunning, you know, the actual whole point of these videos, in Fighters Deluxe it actually does fare better than it did for KF2. I usually say this when it's time to talk speedruns for them, but neither have a large backing, so a lot of the strats are very basic and not super well defined. It's hard to say whether or not Bomb is actually really good, really bad, or the exact of what we already have, but at the very least, I think we can explain what Bomb does. Which, the video is very long, I hope you don't mind me blowing over this, but you throw bombs, you plant bombs. That's that. To the surprise of absolutely nobody at this point, Bomb doesn't see much use in the main modes for Planet Robobot. If an astute commenter wants to let me know how many times I've mentioned that, please be my guest, I'd appreciate it. But because Bomb does nothing for movement, it doesn't have a shot at competing with the likes of Fire, Jet, Cutter, etc. Well, I suppose technically you do see it with the Robobot armor in 100%, but I wouldn't really call that a good thing. It's more of... You know how you breathe? Yeah, that's exactly what I would call it. That actually makes zero sense, but I'm gonna keep it in anyway. Where Bomb is actually pretty good is against the bosses. Now, of course, it isn't fantastic or even really like that great, but definitely good enough to warrant a mention here. And whenever I talk about Planet Robobot in these spotlights, you all know it's coming. In this game, the Mad Lads at Mal Labs decided to change how bosses took damage. Before this, when you hit a boss, there is a small cooldown period where bosses couldn't take damage. I've heard this be described as mercy in the past, and that's a really funny way of wording it, so that's what I'm gonna go with. Starting with Planet Robobot, though, no mercy. That short cooldown period is gone entirely, meaning that multi-hit moves suddenly became a lot better. And wouldn't you know it, bomb bowling is technically 2 hits. Yeah, when the bomb actually hits the boss, that counts as a hit, as well as the explosion. And sure, the move isn't perfect, especially against airborne opponents, but most bosses in Planet Robobot don't go high enough to where bomb bowling can't hit them. And hey, if it can't, you can always count on Ol Reliable and mash your face on the B button until you win. Worked at Superstar, right? The main downside to Bomb here is that, despite how simple it may look, it's actually pretty tough to make it work. Spacing and timing are key to actually doing good with it, and if you don't know what to do effectively, you're gonna be in for a rough time. Now, don't get me wrong, you can use Bomb to clear the true arena okay, but if you're actually shooting for the best times, or heck, even really good times, then this one's gonna be not very easy for results that are very good, but still not great. Don't fret though, Bomb fans. Similarly to Return to Dreamland, it has some boss fights where it truly excels. There aren't as many as in Return, and it has a couple more stinkers, but in some fights, like the first Meta Knight fight and Haltman, super good. You always love to see abilities that don't get talked about very often for boss fights that have super cool tech like this. Not the best in the game, but it doesn't have to be. That right there, my friends, is disgustingly obvious foreshadowing. Let's not waste any more time. Star Allies time. So, what separates Star Allies from the other Kirby games? Oh, why, of course, it's the fact that you can play as Plug, the fan favorite. There's no joke here, that's the biggest difference. But for other small difference, ability elements are the name of the game here, and Bomb takes full advantage of them. Not all of them. There's not really much that you can do with the splash element, for example. But the two that matter are what make Bomb absurdly powerful, and those are Sizzle and Bluster, or in English, Fire and Wind. To start with Fire or Sizzle Bomb, that's the easiest to explain, this does huge damage to enemies. For standard combat, it's good, but for boss fights, it's gigantic. You don't see Sizzle Bomb in a category like any % for reasons. Nor, I mean reason singular, that I'll get into soon, but for the ultimate choice, having this can really help. It just melts health bars, pun possibly intended, and while it isn't the best method Bomb has for boss killing, it's not only the easiest, but in some cases the most consistent. Bluster Bomb, on the other hand, is the single best boss killing ability in the entire game, no questions asked. This may be the strongest in the entire series even, although it definitely has steep competition in that regard. But what makes Bluster Bomb so good? Well, to talk about any % first, Star Allies has the friend system. See enemy, throw heart, show the love. Simple. If you're playing by yourself, you can use a mechanic originally from Return to Dreamland, piggybacking, to control whoever you latch onto. This, of course, means that you can use a boss killing ability when you get to boss fights and abuse strong movement options when you're regularly playing levels. So that's why Bomb, an ability that has no movement benefits, can work in any %. Nice, but what actually makes it good? One simple trick that the community has dubbed Air Bomb Spam, or ABS. What does it do? See, if you pull out a bomb while having the Bluster or Wind element, not only will you slowly automatically float up, but if you're close to an enemy, the bomb will explode. Yes, I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this by now, but if you don't, you can act out of this immediately. And by act out of this, yes, I mean you can pull out another bomb, rinse, repeat. This is really easy to do against taller bosses, like Wispy Woods and Day-to-Day, but it's also not that hard against airborne bosses, like the Mage Sisters, Highness, some of the mini-bosses, Meta Knight, the final boss, Kracko, most bosses actually. But the one style of boss where it's really hard to make this work is against small, grounded bosses. See, the hitbox of Bluster Bomb is right above Kirby, or Poppy Brothers Jr., making it really hard to actually hit bosses that are small enough and just won't leave the ground. Jerks. So how does Bomb get around those? Oh yeah, that. Originally, the fully optimized route for the ultimate choice involved Poppy Brothers Jr., not Kirby because of how jumping versus floating works, and Rick, Kine, and Koo. Kine was just kind of there by technicality, kinda sad. But Rick and Koo, giving the Sizzle and Bluster elements respectively, made the process of slaughtering bosses very easy. Since the final wave of DLC was released, it was discovered that Poppy Brothers Jr., Magalore, and 2 Mage Sisters were the way to go. So while it's sad time for the Dreamland 2 friends, Bomb still reigns as the strongest ability. Now, as far as guest star allies is concerned, killing bosses quickly is far less of a concern, considering the attack buffs can be found in levels. You don't want to go out of your way for all of them, considering getting to them takes time. It uses in-game time, so it's not as bad, but still. If you're playing with piggybacking and you can use Dream Friends like the Mage Sisters or Meta Knight, it's especially not a big deal. But if you're running guest star allies with Poppy Brothers, then like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Also, I should mention, while Splash and Zap aren't very good elements, the Blizzard element does instantly kill enemies instead of leaving them in a state that you can friend them, so if you have Blizzard Bomb at any point during guest star allies, or the main game or whatever, hey, that's cool. And finally, we are less than a month away from the launch of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Things aren't looking super bright for Bomb, as the elements that made it the best ability in the game are gone, plus the demo came out and normal Kirby's actually looking really strong right now on top of other abilities like Sword, Cutter, and Ice. But there are upsides. Going by what we know from trailers, the bombs are thrown super fast and have a decent explosion range. Plus, with ability upgrades being a thing, who knows what we have in store? There's some nasty potential with this chain bomb thing here, but we'll have to wait and see. like we have been for what feels like forever. Oh my god, I can't wait for KFL! Well, that was a lot, but at the end of the day, with all the games covered, was this ability the bomb? Kinda, sorta? Well, I'll start with this. Bomb has been great throughout Kirby's history. It only had a couple of actual bad appearances, with most of its other lackluster showcases simply being okay. On the flip side, though, while it's stellar in a couple of games, it's not absurdly good, or even really that good, in most of them. You could certainly argue that Star Allies just makes up for all of this, and I wouldn't blame you. I mean, look at that monster. Still, this is a very good ability elevated to true greatness thanks to a select few traits and a select few games. You really love to see it. Speaking of things you'll love to see, remember that you can vote for the next Spotlight. You can vote until March 17th, 2022, so vote away if you have the chance. Forgotten Land is coming so soon and I really can't wait for it. If you want to see me playing the game blind, aside from the demo, you're in luck, because on launch day, I'll be playing it on my Twitch channel, totally blind, link in the description. I'm not sure what time I'll be doing it yet. I'll get a community tab poll set up soon, so you can look forward to that. And regardless, over the entire weekend, I plan on streaming the game an absolute ton. So look forward to that, other videos planned for the channel, and more. Until I see you again, I've been Kirby Fan. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye!